Arise and shine, for the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. Good morning, viewer, and welcome to the mid edition of Newspaper Headlines. Remember, this program is aimed at serving you the of news, making the headlines from select national newspapers. Today, 7 papers arrived early enough this morning to check out the stories on the front pages. I am Phoebe Agimehu. And now let's go right into the papers. I'll start with the Nation newspaper. The front page has the stories: weapons, jets coming for insurgency fight. And that's the lead story. President orders the military to chase Boko Haram to their haven. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 8. You have this picture of the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu operating the ticket checking machine during the inauguration of the Oshodi Abulegba BRT corridor in Lagos yesterday. With him is the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority Managing Director. You get the details on page 6. Below the picture, Lagos deploys 550 luxury buses in Oshodi Abulegba BRT route. Okay. Below that, CBN pegs equity funding for agric schemes at 2 billion naira. And that is the picture of CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 8. Beside the CBN governor's picture, don't scrap secured anchorage area, say maritime operators. Court stops Edo government's defamatory publications on Hosa Okumbo. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 8. While the bottom strip stories is on page 27. FIRS nets 3 billion naira weekly from stamp duty. MTN faults Labour's planned picket. And now let's move up to the stories above the lead one. Edo, Ondo 2020. Monarch chides Obaseki for assembly invasion. Governor's performance will earn him re-election. Sanwo-Olu leads Akeredolu campaign council. Court stops S.C. Odo lawmakers suspension. More stories on page 5. And the stories above the masthead: COVID-19. Russia to mass produce vaccine, while U.S. gives 200 ventilators. Page 25. On that same page, Ohaneze, IPOB disagree on Igbo president. Group kicks against killings. And finally, from the Nation newspaper, on page 6, INEC to hold all by-elections on October 31. Polls in Lagos, Kogi, and others. All right. Let's cross over to the Blueprint newspaper now. The story just below the masthead, it says, for failing to appear for verification, federal government deletes 23,089 retirees from payroll. NUP cautions. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 6. We generate 3 billion naira weekly from stamp duties. FIRS, page 18. On page 8, 5 million Nigerians apply for batch CN Power. The lead story now. Matawale's bombshell. Okay. Seeking politicians gaining from Nigeria's security crisis. How true? The kickers: injustice fueling Southern Kaduna killings. Catholic bishops. And Buhari says, we are bringing weapons, aircraft from Jordan, China, and USA. Page 6. The picture is that of the Director General, State Security Service, Inspector General of Police, National Security Advisor, Chief of Staff to the President, and Director General, National Intelligence Agency, during a virtual meeting of the Nigerian Governors Forum Security Committee with the President and heads of security agencies at the Presidential Villa in Abuja yesterday. More than police, Army's annual budget. That's coming from CISLAC on page 18. The bottom strip story is now on page 24. Why I said cost of data should come down by 40%. Pantami has this explanation on page 24. INEC slates October 31 for 12 pending by-elections. Page 16. NEDC to execute 224 projects in 112 local east. Page 14. And lastly, on page 13, Taraba police parade man who is 64 years old, 2 others for raping 11-year-old girl. And that is a sad one. That's all from the Blueprint newspaper. Let's cross over to the Daily Times. All right, what does it have to say? It starts with CBN. It says CBN's exchange rates unification alarms economists, manufacturers. Get the details on page 2. And the picture is that of Kwara State Commissioner for Works and Transport inspecting the repairs of collapsed bridge in Ilorin. On NIPOST versus FIRS, stamp duty. NIPOST denies operating illegal account. Page 2. On insecurity, again, President Buhari meets service chiefs over insecurity. Page 4. While on capital markets, new Companies and Allied Matters Act will boost foreign direct investment. Capital market operators. Page 4. And lastly, from the Daily Times is the editorial. 2023 elections. Above the masthead. Politicians and defections. Get the Daily Times newspaper. It's on page 3. And that is all from the Daily Times. Let's cross over to the front page of the Leadership newspaper now. Below the masthead, stakeholders list gains of Navy OMSL collaboration. Say secure and courage area saves each shipping firm 81 million naira monthly. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 7. While on page 13, Air Peace recalls sacked pilots. Okay. The lead story is on page 4. Governors seek bailout from federal government to tackle insecurity. Link insurgency, banditry, others to poverty, unemployment. So federal government does not need appropriation to fund security. Security issues should not be politicized. Matawali and Catholic bishops sue for peace. The picture now from left to right. Executive Vice Chairman, Chairman, Nigerian Communication Commission, NCC, Minister of State for Education, Imo State Governor, Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, and Minister of Information and Culture during the virtual commissioning of 11 completed projects for the digital economy sector in Abuja yesterday. Beside that, Magajin Gary Nupe Justice Indajiwo dies at 72. Page 4. U.S. presidential poll. Biden picks Kamala Harris as running mate. Page 10. And on page 8, Russia unveils first COVID-19 vaccine as global cases hit 20 million. The bottom strip stories now on pages 3, 14, 6, and 21. Court stops Edo government from defaming Captain Okumbo. NECO to install CCTV cameras in centers. Releases 2020 timetable. U.S. hands over 200 ventilators to Nigeria. And finally, before we observe this break, over 5 million apply for N-Power Batch scheme, or our Batch C scheme. And that is all from the Leadership newspaper. Viewers, stay with us for more stories from the New Telegraph, This Day, and the Nigerian Tribune newspapers. We shall be back.
The word of God is God's instrument for deliverance. The Bible said in Psalm chapter 107 verse 20 that he sent forth his word and he led them from every destruction. All men that were of great generational impact were men who encountered God via the word. In this age of shallow Christianity, where many are no longer committed to discipleship, we need the word of God in order not to be tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. For true Christian growth and maturity, there is no substitute for the word. Little wonder St. Paul wrote to the church in Colossians and said, let the word of God dwell richly amongst you. The word of God is God. Bible said in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. Join me and other men of God on this station weekly as we learn at the feet of Jesus. Wednesday is 2 p.m., Saturday is 11 a.m., and Sunday 6:15 a.m. God bless you.
If you just joined us, you're watching the newspaper headline from the ACNN studios in Abuja. For more on our catch-up programs, please visit our social media platforms all showing on the screen. And do well to download the VM Africa app, or Prime TV, or WeTV Africa on any app store to watch us on the go. ACNNTV is now available on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Android TV. And now let's continue with the rest of the papers. I have with me New Telegraph. The story below the mastheads in 3 billion naira weekly from banks. Reps mediate in agency. 9 posts face off. The federal government to help states recover backlog. You can get the details on page 8. On page 27, Russia approves COVID-19 vaccine. The story is below the masthead now. On page 26, Labour issues 14-day ultimatum to MTN over staff welfare. Air Peace agrees to recall sacked pilots. That's on page 3. Pensioners flee the listing of 23,089 from payroll. Page 8. And from INEC by elections hold October 31. Page 26. The lead story now, governors seek bailout to tackle security challenges. Buhari queries terrorist access to weapons. Catholic bishops demand end to killings. And northern clerics warn against imminent reprisals. Pages 3 and 27. There you have the picture of Nigeria gets 200 ventilators from U.S. That is an update. 10. The story below the picture now, the economics of SAA, that is the secured anchorage area to federal government vessel owners. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 4. And that happens to be the last story from the New Telegraph. This day newspaper is next. And I'll start with the lead story. More weapons. Aircraft coming for battle against Boko Haram, says Buhari. Assures military as resources to fight insurgents. Governments, rather governors, demand security bailouts. Politicians exploit insecurity for personal gains, Zamfara governor alleges. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 3. We saw this picture earlier on the Blueprint newspaper regarding the matter of security. That is a virtual meeting of Nigerian Governors Forum Security Committee with President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja yesterday. And below that, Catholic bishops urge federal government to stop killing of Nigerians. Page 5. Beside the picture, showdown loose in Edo. Lawmakers insist on sitting. They are not legislators. Their decisions will not bind on us. And that is coming from Obaseki. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 3. Above the masthead now, 34 applicants request for 90 billion naira from CBN's healthcare research grant. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 10. And lastly, on page 8, on this day newspaper, NNPC, $2.8 billion AKK gas project won't fail like others. Okay, and that is all from this day newspaper. Nigerian Tribune is next. Permit me to start with the stories above the masthead. On page 30, Northern leaders must speak up in support of 2023 Southern presidency. That is coming from the Southwest APC on page 30. EFCC arrests 3 core members, 19 undergraduates for internet fraud. Page 29. WHO pours cold water on COVID-19 vaccine announced by Putin. Page 2. And below the masthead, reactions trail Sharia courts death sentence on singer for blasphemy. Page 27. On COVID-19, 2,121 patients discharged. Death toll hits 100 in Edo. Page 27. 8 million Lagos residents prone to flood disaster. NEMA. Page 2. The lead story is on page 3. Buhari queries security chiefs and is asking a question. He says, how do terrorists get arms despite border closure? And that's a reasonable question that deserves an answer. Get the Nigerian Tribune for more details. Nigeria receives 200 ventilators from U.S. We have seen that story before. Page 5. Reps to buy standalone treasury bills. Probe customs, FIRS over unremitted pension in 2014. Page 4. 10-year-old boy chained with goats for 2 years in Kebbi. Rescued. Page 29. The picture now. Amotekun takes off in Ondo. Akera Dolu says no more hiding place for criminals. And that is the picture of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State at the personal parade of the Southwest Security Network, Amotekun, in Akure on Tuesday. Page 29. And finally on page 2, you can't remove 23,089 pensioners from payroll, Labour tells federal government. Someone to lead APC's 104-member campaign team in Ondo. And that is all from the Nigerian Tribune and from all the papers that arrived early enough this morning. And so there, that's the much we could take on the program. We want to thank you so much for watching. And I want to admonish you with these words. Courage, brothers and sisters. Do not stumble. Though the path be dark as night, there is a star to guide the humble. Let the road be rough and dreary, and its end far out of sight. Foot it bravely, strong or weary. Trust in God and do the right. Friday is the next edition. Until then, stay well and stay blessed. Bye-bye.